Hi all, we will start the webinar because it's already 2 p.m. in Indonesia, so kindly prepare yourself.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear my voice? Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the sixth ARNECC paper talks. Here we will discuss an article that recently published in Nature Communication. The topic of this paper is, I would say, really close to the energy cooperation in ASEAN. To be particular, the ASEAN power grid in Mekong area. The title is Solar Energy and Regional Coordination as a Feasible Alternative to Large Hydropower in Southeast Asia. I will be the host of this talk. My name is Monica Merdekawati. I'm a research analyst of ASEAN Climate Change and Energy Project, or ACCEP, and an officer of Sustainable Energy, Renewable Energy, and Energy Efficiency Department of ACE. This talk will be started with a presentation by the author itself, Dr. Kaisiala, for about 20 minutes. Then our two panelists here, Mr. Aloysius Damar Pranadi and Mr. Pitun Juntip, will share their feedbacks or inputs based on their experience working closely in the third ASEAN Interconnection Master Plan Study, or AIMS-3. Later, we will have a 15 minutes Q&A session. In this Q&A session, I'm encouraging the participants here to share your questions through Q&A feature. And if any of you would like to share your view directly, please use the raise hand feature to notify the host, so we could make you as a panelist for a moment to be able to talk and open your camera. Again, please do not hesitate to be involved in the discussion, because I believe there is no stupid question or remarks. It is supposed to be a casual discussion between us who have the common interest on this topic. Okay, without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker, Dr. Kais. He studied electrical engineering and information technology at Technical University of Munich, or TUM, with a focus on power engineering. His interest on Southeast Asia energy issue started back from his master thesis on determination of the power generation potential of solar PV and wind in Southeast Asia. For 5 years, he worked as a research assistant at the chair of Renewable and Sustainable Energy Systems at TUM. Meanwhile, he did also 2 research stays abroad, one at Stanford University, California, and one at TUM Create, Singapore. He also submitted his doctoral thesis in 2020 with the title of Spatial Complexity in Energy System Modeling. He just recently joined Potsdam Institute of Climate Impact Research in August 2020. Okay, hello, Dr. Kais. Whenever you are ready, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. Welcome everyone to the, we can start. And here we are. So thank you for the interest on the topic on solar energy and regional coordination as a feasible alternative to large hydropower in Southeast Asia. Kamal, Tan, and Stefano from Singapore University of Technology and Design. And I have done it in my previous job at Tum Create Singapore. So let's jump into the topic. So what is the status quo right now in the Mekong region? We are interested particularly in Cambodia and Laos, but the Mekong region spans larger areas, starting from China and also installed, and there are all gigawatts that are planned. But we are wondering whether it's necessary to build all these. And what you can see is that the blue ones are those that are already installed, and the red ones, quite big ones, are planned and in construction. And a lot of installed capacities, particularly of gas and coal in Thailand. Big coal power plants here in the north is mostly in Laos, with smaller installations in Cambodia and Thailand in the second basin, Chao Phraya. So the status quo over there is that intensity 0.5 to 0.3 ton of CO2 per megawatt hour, and there is a growing electricity demand. So we expect the electricity demand to increase by 4 to 5% in Thailand. There is a vast solar PV potential. There are a lot of studies. Maybe we can use that also to cover some of that increasing demand in the future. So our research questions for this are: is it possible to design more sustainable energy plants for the lower Mekong region? Can we limit the number of dams that will be built in the near future? Optimization of both hydro and energy system.
Hello, everyone. Apologies. We have a technical error here where the connection of our speaker, Dr. Kais, is not stable. It's unstable. So please bear with me for a moment to wait him to come back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have Dr. Kais back. Hello, Dr. Kais.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Probably when you share your screen, you can turn off your video camera. Probably it burden your internet connection.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Did it stop at this level, or did
you have to reshare your screen again?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to reshare my screen again. Just a moment. So I'm having a bit of trouble with Zoom, but we'll get there.
We can see
Okay.
now it's the
So,
modeling framework.
did it? Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, I don't know where exactly it got stopped. Okay, but hydropower, so it usually takes it historical data. What we did this time is that we coupled it with a hydro VCRS that is actually good at modeling that optimizes the operation of dams. It takes into account effects of climate change. So we are using this model to generate the hydropower profile that's in the optimization model. And we did that for the period from 2016 to 2020, across Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia. And we model also neighboring regions for imports and exports. And each dam is modeled these provinces, but really each one is modeled separately. We consider 4 dam portfolios, the business as usual, then one where we don't build dams on the stem of the Mekong. All the dams, both planned and under construction, and a scenario where we just stop the planned ones and keep the dams that are under construction. Okay, so here are some of the results for the energy mix, how it will evolve from 2016 till 2037. Some production from coal and also large gas, but the relative share is decreasing. And at the same time, particularly after 2025, there is a large exposure. We are expecting up to 68 gigawatt by 2037. And for hydro, we are expecting 9 gigawatt, from 9 gigawatt to 22 gigawatt, which corresponds to an execution rate of 82% of the planned cost optimization, which means that about 18% are not cost competitive, considering the current situation, and the current cost assumptions of solar PV, for example, which is a big competitor. When we compare the alternative dam portfolios, we notice that the role, of course, in the reference scenario we are allowing more dams to be built, but by generate the electricity mostly by substituting it with anyway, all of these portfolios are technically feasible. And if you are looking at the differences in costs, they would only lead to an increase of about 2.4% of the total costs, which are roughly equivalent to 10 billion US dollars over the whole period, which sounds like a lot, but is actually not if you put it into perspective with the activities that are affected by the Mekong River, like fisheries and so on. So we might decide not to go for all the planned dams and restrict their construction in favor of more sustainable dam portfolios that give more space to other economic activities. And for that, we also look at systems, particularly using two indices. One is the River Fragmentation Index, which looks at the impact on natural connectivity of riverine systems, and the River Regulation Index, which looks at the impact on the natural flow regime. And we noticed that we actually cannot impact very much the river. It is impacted by the dams that are built on the main stem, mainly in China, so in the upper Mekong. But the alternative dam portfolios could limit the river fragmentation. And I mean, the scenario with the lowest expansion of dams has the lowest river fragmentation index. Not all the planned dams must necessarily be built. That's the first conclusion. The other alternative pathways are economically and technically feasible. The alternatives to large hydropower is the expansion of solar PV and the possibility to have cross-border power trading that will use the capacities of PV in a better way. And the alterations of natural flow regime depend primarily on dams built in the upper Mekong, so mostly in China, and there is little that can be done in the Mekong to reverse that. Thank you very much for your attention. I just kept it short, and I'm open to all your questions on the topic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kais, for the excellent presentation. Now let me introduce our first expert here, Mr. Aloysius Damar Pranadi, that will share his view. Damar has been working in the area of renewable energy planning, policies, and energy economics for more than 6 years. He has broad knowledge for renewable energy applications in Southeast Asia. He initiated his career as a researcher at Engineering Study Center of University of Gajah Mada. Then he contributes to a number of researches in Southeast Asia region as a power sector analyst in ASEAN Center for Energy in 2016 until 2020. Since last year, he supported the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, PLN, and other stakeholders related to the renewable development in Indonesia as a policy analyst for UK-Indonesia Mentari Program towards energy transition acceleration. Okay, let's welcome Damar. Hello, Damar. Okay, the
Hello,
floor
Monica.
is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Monica. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, perfect. Dr. Kais, thank you very much for your presentations. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Damar, as mentioned by Monica. I'm now a research analyst for the Mentari program. And here I'm so glad to have some inputs that maybe we would like to discuss together regarding the papers that has been written by Dr. Kais and colleagues. First, in my highlight, yeah, I think this is a very nice paper, Dr. Kais and college. The paper explain on how Dr. Kais and college conduct the optimization, but sometimes we know that the power system optimizations are commonly being conducted for certain purpose or objective. And I think in this paper, Dr. Kais would like to see whether the hydro dam in Mekong where actually plan is really necessary or not in the plan itself. So I think from this perspective is very good on how we focus on the specific technology, because sometimes what I've done with ACE College previously and PJ in AIMS 3, we do in multi technology perspectives. We look for the least cost or maybe the highest options, highest possible options for the renewable energy penetration in ASEAN itself. But this we are looking only at the hydropower on how limited. I think this is provided us a lot of insights that maybe as the conclusion itself, not all planned dams are necessarily built. But in my comment, actually, yes, it might be revisited again, because as I read also in the first paragraphs of the paper, Dr. Kais also mentioned that dam is related to the biodiversity issue, something like that. Because if we build the dam based hydropower, then it means like we also lock the protein or the nutrition for the fish in the other side of the rivers, or or having some kind of biodiversity issues. I think this is not in my expertise, but looking at the perspective of hydropower in the power system itself, hydropower is somewhat also necessary, because hydropower can be used or utilized as the ancillary service, which are important for the renewable energy, because as we understand together, solar PV, wind, or maybe other natural-based renewable energy, they have their own characteristic due to natural intermittency and so on. So I think the first point for myself is it is still necessary to build the dam, but of course it will also must be compliance with the regulation for the environment in each region. And to my understanding also, talking about the regional cooperation, in Tong itself, they have a lot of abundance hydropower, and I believe that we shall recreate it, regional cooperation, because everyone would like to build their own hydro. And I think if we are talking about the cooperation, we need to understand who will play which role. Like in the football players, sometimes we need a goalkeeper, we need a striker, we need a wings, and also the back. So we shall determine what are the roles of the country itself. Like let's say if we have a lot of hydropower sources, then it will build the hydropower sources. But if we have the possibility to create solar PV, then it will be having solar PV as the main generations. And as we understand also, we also have some cooperation, and in towards on that one, I believe that ACE as the knowledge hub of the ASEAN will create on how the harmonization of each country in its role can take a lead on the regional cooperation itself. And interconnection is very useful, because sometimes between the power generation or the power interconnection one country to another can provide the benefits of the sources. Let's say like Bangkok, as you mentioned, Dr. Kais, in the paper, that Bangkok has a huge power demand, but maybe Myanmar is not. So Myanmar may transfer the electricity or the cheaper one than Bangkok has to burn gas. So I think the understanding of this optimization is not only in the optimization of the country itself, but we are talking the optimization in the region. We are talking about country to country basis. I'm not sure whether the paper talk about the optimization in the region, but I'm quite sure Dr. Kais has modeled it, and also it was mentioned in the paper that it is hourly, but I'm still wondering whether the hourly means like 8, 7, 60 hours, or maybe you define it in hourly basis for a daily, only for weekend, and or only for seasonal basis, or any determination. Yeah, it's not taught in the paper. Happy to get the clarification on that one, so we can understand. Because in if you are doing the optimization using the 870 760, it will be more accurate to draw the hydro profile itself, and also we can also estimate on how the capacity generation developed by the solar PV, and it will help us to create more accurate data. And at last but not least, I believe the GIS is very important. I think is can help the peers, the ASEAN peers to develop the GIS database. Like last time, I collaborated with in ACE, I collaborated with PJ to create the resource database for renewable energy resources, and we had very many challenges to collect the data, but during this time, maybe due to digitalization, I hope that ACE can also further pursue this kind of database, because resource database are very important to help like person like Dr. Kais or myself or PJ or other researchers to understand and to do the optimization of the regional cooperation itself in power system planning. I think that's all from my side, Monica. If I have any additional point, I think I can put it later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Damar, for the comprehensive review. Before we move on to the second expert, may I ask Dr. Kais if you could give a short response to Damar's remarks, like he also had question and clarification before.
Yes, very gladly. I actually thank him very much for the questions that he asked and opportunity to clarify a few things. I'll start with because of all the other services it provides, like ancillary, and that's true. But we're also not saying that hydro should not be still building some hydro, not as much as planned. That's the difference. It's in the same direction, like hydro is used to stabilize the, and actually that's the intuition of this study. We wanted to see whether we can use the and use the synergy between them, because PV is only during the day, and then maybe solutions using hydro. Most of the hydro power plants in the Mekong region don't have a lot of. There is enough for, let's say, one day to save the energy a bit and reschedule it accordingly. So maybe we can use that in with PV, and then they will flatten each other. The other thing that I want to see from want to show you from this graph is that we also have a lot of gas, which is quite flexible and can be used to flatten also the demand curve or the residual demand curve, and can be used for other ancillary services. So that is still there. That's for the first question. The second one, the cooperation. Yes, so the three countries, which is that each country is developing its own energy development plan separately, and each one wants to for the energy plan for Thailand, where we see that it takes into consideration the construction of dams in Laos. I think some of them are basically just built for the demand in Thailand. But generally, we see that each plan is maybe within so that they can avoid building too many power dams that hydropower dams that will actually create in a way that is not optimal for any of them. So they might reduce the expected hydropower production from neighboring dams in other countries. I wanted to show the last slide here. Your remark about GIS, able to see in a map how the problem is evolving. You mentioned some regions like, and we see it here, for example. So in this map of the power demand distribution, most of the demand is concentrated in Bangkok and in the West Thailand, Northwest, or some of it also in Laos. Actually, PV is very much available everywhere, but available capacities from the demand, we see that most of it is around here, and all the blue regions have an excess of potential or production. So they them to the regions over here. And that's why we see this direction, and also some of them built in this direction to connect the West with the region here in Bangkok. So yes, it is important, and that's also the advantage. Can really model the differences between the regions, those that have high demand. And regarding your question on the hourly resolution we use, and that's why the model is quite large. So 8,760 hours and years, 2016, 20, 25, 30, 35, 37, and then 120 region with high also technical resolution. We're modeling every dam separately. So it's quite a large model for power potential dry year or a wet year. So there is a lot of work being done over there. I hope it's still open. Please ask again.
Thank you, Dr. Kais, for the response and answer. Maybe before, without further ado, I would like to invite the second expert here, Mr. Pitun Juntip, also known as PJ. He worked as a renewable energy planning expert at USAID Clean Power Asia program since 2016 until recently. He led and managed the formulation of the third ASEAN Interconnection Master Plan Study, or M3. He also worked with Stockholm and Farnborough Institute, or SEI, to implement the integrated resource and resilience planning in Laos. Previously, he was a consultant with a subsidiary of PTT Global Chemical, providing energy and environmental services. In 2012, he completed his master degree in energy and environmental management specialization in developing countries from University of Flensburg, Germany, and currently he is a PhD candidate there in the same university and also a research fellow at ASEAN Center for Energy, supporting the 7 ASEAN Energy Outlook. Hello, PJ. Yeah, when
Hi,
you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, Monica. Thank you for your introduction. And thank you so much to Dr. Khai on your presentation, and also with a good view from Dharma. Yeah, because we have been working together on the developing the third revision of the ASEAN Interconnection Master Plan, where we have also doing the capacity expansion plus the production cost modeling for each ASEAN country. Overall, we are doing for like 10 ASEAN country with the 3 sub-regional region and with 1 region as the ASEAN. So I think in the future soon, you guys could see kind of like the public version of the M3 as well. Back to your presentation. So I would like to thank you again for your presentation. So let exchange some information or some perspective from our side, since I have been doing both capacity planning expansion model in the regional context, and also in particular for the country level in Laos PDR as the part of the integrated resort and resilient planning in Laos. So we have been working with ACI. So yeah, back to the basic concept of your work. So I think what I could see is that, so we try to avoid building the unfriendly power plant, let's say from coal, to save and to preserve the environmental perspective. By this, I think in terms of improve the planning perspective in ASEAN, I think we may need to think about another perspective. For example, the economic part, we also do the environmental, right? So back to your basic concept, I think you have been mentioned that you try to avoid to build large hydro, and then you try to form from your result. I have seen you try to promote like natural gas. Yeah, I know that is quite like more friendly, but it's still like from the fossil fuel, right? You also mentioned in your paper is that it's less, there is less the emission intensity. Yeah, of course. However, if we try to moving, let's say ASEAN or like 3 countries moving towards to the decarbonization energy system, I don't think, yeah, you can see from the color is that, so we can see the gas inside between like 2020 up to 2037. So this one, yeah, it may still like have some, I would say some, yeah, emission from the natural gas, especially from Thailand. I know that maybe we didn't have, they also have some in Cambodia. However, I would say like it still like have some. And another perspective is that about like the economics or the cost. You may know that the natural gas that have been deployed mostly is come from Thai Gulf. Is the Gulf in Thai area, Thai Gulf. So that's why right now we have been running out of them. I don't think that it will be last long, up to like more than 5 years. So that's why they have in Thailand, they have been starting to import the LNG already for almost like 3 to 5 years. So that's why this might impact to the cost as well. I know that you try to like provide the power system reliability by providing more gas. So by this one, it still have some, I would say, impact to the cost. So that's why I do believe that I didn't see the cost curve here, but I do assume that the levelized cost of electricity will going up in order to like have some natural gas. If we can get some, let's say next 5 years in Thai Gulf, And then after that, the demand is rising up, right? And you guys need to be import to compete with the demand from another region, Japan, from Korea, from China. So that's why it may drive the electricity price too high. So that's why I would say that it depends on your assumption. What is your cost, per BBTU of like natural gas? So I do assume that this one might impact to the cost also. That is my second point. And then I think my third point, I do believe that everyone also love renewable energy, especially for the one that have a lot of potential in this region. I mean, I'm talking to like the solar PV right now. The solar PV development in 3 countries, let's say from Laos, Thailand, and also Myanmar, they have like different contexts. For example, if you would like to develop the solar project in Laos, it's not like difficult because of like they didn't have like a good financial instrument or the one, but everything need to be complete with hydro, right? Because of Laos, 90% of electricity they are generated from the hydro, from the large hydro, from the river runoff river scheme. Power plant. So that's why the levelized cost in Laos in general is quite cheap. So that's why sometimes if you would like to put more solar, people also love solar in Laos. We need to think about like another technology, for example, like floating solar, rooftop. And then at the end, you need to compete with hydro. That is a little bit difficult for Laos. And for Thai, of course, the generation mix is quite diversified. The majority of the generation mix come from the natural gas. So that's why it still like provide more opportunity for promoting solar. However, in terms of right now, they have a lot of like reserve margin because of like the COVID impact, the economic growth didn't grow as they expected. So that's why a lot of power plant capacity they didn't use. So the reserve margin right now is about like 30%. It will be like go up a little bit next year. So that is difficult to put more generation there. And then for the Cambodia, so it's not easy too, because they are quite diversified like Thailand. And then in terms of like the policy enabling the solar PV deployment, so it didn't like provide a good structure yet. So I think we can get a good basic idea about where we are now and where we would like to go. So it's quite necessary to understand the country context. And then I think the fourth option, I do understand like the idea that you are working with the map of planning, because it need to like improve our understanding. On this one, I think most of like the generation from solar may located like far from the load center, right? So that's why you have the line between the outside, the upcountry, the urban area, between the rural. So that's why it could be being electricity generation from solar to be go inside the load demand. However, this might add up the cost as well, because for us, I mean, for the M3, we also consider about like the integrating costs. We need to integrate with solar and wind. We also need to like add more lines to improve the grid congestion, and also to allow more room for adding renewable. You can see from the picture B. So it's pay around with cost, no? And then I would say like the last one, someone already said that, I have seen on the chat box or the Q&A. Another option, if we didn't have like, let's say if we didn't promote the natural gas, what other technologies? So I think, the pump storage is quite good too. However, it may depend on the availability of the pump storage potential, because for Thailand, I think we have been promoting as like 600 megawatt only, because it's like the area limitation. It still have like some impact to environment. But I think we do have some potential in Laos, pump storage is much more cheaper. It's quite fit for the context of Laos that they heavily rely on hydro very much. So that's why I do agree with one comment here. Yeah, pump storage could be, once we increase the solar, we need to have kind of like a pump storage, but it depends on the level of RE integration or penetration as well. So by this, yeah, it's much more suitable. Yeah. And then I think, as I mentioned earlier on the potential technologies, so in terms of we try to reduce the connection cost, improve the grid availability, especially for the distribution system, because we didn't want to promote like solar or wind into like the let's say the high voltage transmission. But for this one, we try to stay close with the load center. So the solar rooftop could be one option. Another option could be like floating solar. And then, yeah, lastly, I do still support the pump storage as well. So that is my overall. Yeah. So that's why I would like to say thank you to Dr. Kleis and try to emphasize that, yeah, it's really important to balance, yeah, with all dimensions between the economics, environmental impact, and also with the social perspective that we try to, because energy planning, yeah, we would like to improve everything. No? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, PJ. I especially agree with you on the point of adjusting to the country context, because yeah, indeed, like for Thailand, the gas with more gas, it will increase the price, etc. So, Dr. Kais, how would you? What is your thought about this?
Yeah, thank you very much for your feedback. I have a lot of answers to give here. First thing to clarify, I do not promote gas. It's just that happens. We set in the study that we use the targets that the 3 countries have set. Basically, target on how much it wants to reduce its energy intensity, emission intensity from 0.53 ton CO2 per megawatt hour to 0.3. And we applied it also for the other regions. So basically, they are not going into full decarbonization. And even though it sounds like a lot, from 0.5 to 0.3, it are dividing by the demand, which is growing very fast in the 3 countries, 4% in Thailand and 8 to 9% in Laos and Cambodia. So overall, the overall and that's not what we want, but this is what the plans currently look like. That's why they are still involving a lot of coal and gas. And one weird conclusion, which we explain in the paper, is that actually by having more hydro, and having this target of the same, you're allowing to use more coal because it's more polluting, but then with a lot of one thing to improve that is actually to have targets that are based on energy intensity or emission intensity, but more on absolute numbers for the emission quantities. And then maybe also a CO2 price. That would be actually one of the most efficient ways to reduce your target. And I think we will move into that direction. I mean, the whole world is moving into that direction, and the 3 countries will definitely be affected by that and will definitely profit from moving into that direction early on, rather than continuing on their current plans. The cost assumptions are for the region of Asia. You mentioned the problem with gas resources diminishing and so on. It is true, but we're what is also true is that we did some validation with the of Cambodia here of Thailand. Yeah, we see that in our model we use pretty much the same amount of renewable from solar and wind, and actually a bit less of gas. So they are even expecting to keep using a lot of gas in the future, probably through imports, even though their resources are diminishing. The orange one is energy efficiency. Somehow Thailand considers it as part of the context on other studies is just a diminishing demand. So I tried to answer that. Then your most important question was probably about the country context. And this, we say that we need a lot of solar, but doesn't mean that all the countries need to build a lot of solar. So what we see is that most of that solar is actually in Thailand. And there is indeed some capacities of solar in Laos and Cambodia, but it's not like very, very huge. That the competition with hydro is the reason why solar is not cost competitive. It is true if you are just looking at the local market, electricity market for Laos, let's say. But if you have this regional core, only one market, so there is, you would get basically only one electricity price, and that one will build solar PV technically. So that's why we see also a little bit of solar expansion in Laos, and so most of it would still be in Thailand. We consider in the study the and I want to go back to this slide here. We are taken into account. So, and actually we don't see a lot of transmission lines connecting solar because, well, wind is almost insignificant, and solar is available everywhere. The map here shows that the solar capacities in the west of Thailand are very high, but actually they are high everywhere and expanded everywhere. Also, and the demands have to cover the demand in the demand centers because the size of the areas that are available around here are small. That's why you the access from the other regions to this region, but you would still build, because the hydro is really concentrated in the areas where the dams are, which are northern Laos and northern eastern Cambodia, which are very far from that's why you would need these transmission routes here, and also some of the transmission lines over here. We actually solar, which can be built everywhere rather than building more large hydropower plants. Now to the broader context of ASEAN and to the context of decarbonization. If we have higher decarbonization targets, like more ambitious decarbonization targets, then actually we might need some of that hydro that we are saying that is not necessary. So the conclusions of the study are just based on the current plans. but we think that the current plans are not ambitious enough. More decarbonization, then we actually need to get rid of the coal and the gas and rely more on solar and probably also hydro. If we expand the model to other regions in ASEAN, I actually don't expect that it will favor more hydro very much because of the problem that we mentioned right now. I would expect even more solar actually in the other regions rather than building very big transmission lines connecting Laos to, let's say, southern Malaysia or Singapore. That's, I think, everything I wanted to share with you, and I hope I answered your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kais. Indeed, it is, yeah, it's kind of answer the question. It leads to more question actually, but the time is limited and we are like closing to the end our webinar. So if there is no further question or follow-up question from the attendees here and also from our two experts, may I check, do you have any other follow-up questions to Damar and PJ?
Monica, may I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kais. Thank you, PJ, for the nice perspective. I thought that there was mentioned by PJ, it is an optional to also have like a floating solar PV. Now, floating solar PV is one of the technology that is looking at also in Indonesia. The structure cost of this floating solar is very attractive because you do not need to have cost for the land acquisition, have the problem with the land acquisition, but we can utilize the existing dams or the government dams or lakes with following the regulation. Some studies say that if we get like 5 cents US dollar for the grounded solar PV, then it can also have offer you for the floating solar PV like 3 cents. So it will be cheaper than the grounded solar PV. I believe that if Dr. Kais would like to explore on how this research to be expanded with the floating solar PV optional, so yeah, I believe it will be good. And if ACE also would like to do like the chemistry with the separation between the grounded solar PV and floating solar PV, it is also good to see because like in Indonesia, we just surprised that the data said we had like 28 gigawatt for solar PV or for the floating solar PV one. So yeah, I believe that Laos, Myanmar, Thailand has more than what Indonesia has. Yeah, it's all Monica, so we can explore together about those floating solar PV technology.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Damar. Actually, I was gonna ask that too because floating PV in ASEAN is kind of on the rise because they see it as a benefit, co-benefit between the hydropower and also solar, increasing the power, net power production, and etc. And it's lower cost in general if building new large hydropower. So
yeah, it reduces the evapotranspiration, so that's the advantage. But in terms of the power system, I don't see the potential to be. It has advantages as you mentioned, but for studies on this large scale, I think you get actually more potential from rooftop PV rather than floating PV. So if I would like to recommend a policy, that would be on administrative buildings, government buildings, and so on, you would cover more than and yeah, I don't mind floating PV. Yes.
Yes, Dr. Chris. If we have combined, it's very nice.
Yeah. I kind of agree with both of you. Rooftop solar also may have a lot more potential. Yeah, PJ.
It's just short. Yeah. Sorry. Hi, Monica. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
now.
just short here. I do believe that from the Indonesia's new energy policy, you both like promote the floating solar as well as the solar PV rooftop, right? I do believe that Indonesia, and then totally support everyone that right now some or many country ASEAN countries have set the target for the carbon neutrality, right? For example, like Indonesia, so Thailand just officially announced that we are moving to achieve the carbon neutral energy system by 2065 to 2070, up to the development of technologies. So that is more information for me. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I agree with you for all option. Everything can help to make our power system cleaner and greener, right?
Thank you, PJ. It's a nice thoughts. Before continuing, I would like to ask permission from both of you, from all of you, the speakers. Is it okay if we extend for like another 10 minutes? Because we also have one attendees raising hand to share his thoughts.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Alfred, can I ask your help to assign Casper here to talk, to as a panelist to be able to talk?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you. First of all, I would like really thank all of the speakers. That was like really informative session. So like the one thing I would like to add about this discussion about rooftop PV and floating PV, obviously they are complementary. However, one of the reasons why I particularly like floating PV is that they as well prevent evaporation. So as we know, evaporation is one of the problems we have with reservoirs, that this evaporation reduces the ability to generate hydro. So the added value of floating PV is that the evaporation is reduced. So just this small comment that I wanted to add to this important discussion we have.
Okay, thank you, Casper. Actually, you raised an important point, which explains why now the ASEAN member states also recognize this potential. Yeah.
May I have also additional point?
Yeah, Damar, please.
Yeah, regarding to the evaporation, I couldn't more agree with Casper, and also it helps also solar PV to have like a natural cooling as well, because it will help the solar PV to optimize their power generation in annual basis. Yeah. Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, thank you. So, is there any one from the attendees who would like to share your view? Or Casper, do you have any follow-up question?
No, thank you. I think that everything is clear. So there's nothing more I can add.
Yeah, it's good to know that now clear. So if that's so, let me wrap up today's discussion by introducing a few of updates about ARNECC itself and its upcoming activities. So bear with me for another 5 minutes. Okay, let me share my screen now. Okay. Oh. So, okay. Yeah, can you see my screen? Okay. First, I would like to. First, I would like to reintroduce you again to ARNECC. ARNECC is a group of scholars, analysts, researchers, students, and other stakeholders organized under the theme of energy and climate studies. The main objective is to facilitate an interdisciplinary forum for the discussion of social, economic, governance, and technical issues related to energy and climate change. It is open for researchers from any discipline or level of experience, not limited to any particular technology, sector or topic from Southeast Asia. To register, please check ARNECC website webpage here. And if you have further questions, please submit it to the email benisuryadi@aseanenergy.org. Okay, next is I would like to also introduce you that we have launched ARNECC Research Database, which aim to be a platform for ARNECC member or any researcher that want their publication on energy climate topic to be disseminated more effectively to Southeast Asian readers. Please note that this database is under the copyright term, so as you may later check in the website that this database only provides the link to the original DOI. And we have received a positive feedback since then, and by now we have updated the database and it has reached 150 plus curated papers, and we hope this number keeps growing. So we are inviting all the researchers who want to showcase their paper, simply submit the details of your publication at the link provided here. And then as always, I will also promote the in ACCEPT or in ACE, we also have monthly ARNECC paper talks. Now we have reached the 6th episode. Next month, we will have the 7th one, which is scheduled to be in the last week of September. Here, I am also inviting all researchers who want their paper to be showcased. Please send detail of your paper, short bio, and photo to accept.com@aseanenergy.org. And then next, I would like to also invite you to the launch of hydrogen report in ASEAN, particularly on economic prospect, development, and applications, to be held in next Monday on 30th of August. We will have keynote remarks from our executive director and also the senior official leader of Singapore and various experts that works on this report. We will also have interactive panel discussion with experts from IEA, IRENA, APERC, area, and a representative from private sector from HDF Energy. And then last but not least, I would like to also invite you to participate in the first ASEAN International Conference on Energy and Environment, or AICEE. This event is co-hosted with Brunei Darussalam in conjunction with the ASEAN Energy Business Forum 2021. We're hoping this initiative could be a platform for triple helix collaboration through research activities. The main topic of this year is an ASEAN energy transition with resiliency in the post-pandemic climate change era. You can join and listen the AICE by accessing ACE YouTube channel and DMG YouTube channel without signing in to the DMG platform itself. Okay. Now we have reached the end of our talk here. Again, thank you very much for your time, especially we are like 8 minutes beyond the schedule. I would like to appreciate our 3 distinguished speakers here, Dr. Kais, Damar, and PJ, for the insightful discussions, as well as your valuable time and effort for this event. And also, I would like to thank the active participation from our audience. Again, hopefully this talk will be beneficial for your work and your interests. Please stay safe and healthy, and see you again in the next month ARNECC Paper Talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kais. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
PJ. Yeah, thank you, Monique. Bye.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you everyone. Bye.